jungle.
Good day. This is Doc with Doc's Adventures in Africa. Thanks for joining us again. We are back in America now. We're having a wonderful time. It's springtime in America. We just had our gala this week, and Dustin and Alex, our son and daughter-in-law, were back with us to interact with many of our friends of our ministry. And the gala, we had over 300 people there, lots of excitement and fun. And it was like a reunion of many people who'd been to Africa. In fact, well over half the 300 people that had been at the gala had been to Africa. So we were able to share memories of our time together and really doing well. Today, we're blessed to have David Russell, a friend of mine. We've traveled the world together. He's been to South Africa with me many times. He's actually our chaplain and serves with us in our Urbandale office. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we gather together and pray and study the Bible. And he is our chaplain and spiritual leader. So thanks for joining us today. And we'll just share some of your memories of your trips back to Africa. So good day, David.
Well, great. Well, thank you. First of all, it's just an honor to be able to just share with you and with your listening audience just the number of times that God has shown up when we have gone to South Africa. So let me get the plug in early, and that is, if you haven't been to South Africa, be sure to get on the list. And you will be amazed, and your life will, in fact, be changed. But Jim, you and I, we have been kicking around this world for probably 30 years. Mission trips. We've been to Cuba. We have been to Colombia. We have been to Venezuela, if you remember that trip.
Yeah.
We were in Russia. I remember in Russia, I had brought along 2 or 3 extra bottles of Diet Pepsi. And after about the 4th day into the trip, Beth was out of her Diet Pepsi and was beginning to go into withdrawal.
Yeah.
And I think she was going to offer me up to $100 for a bottle of Diet Pepsi in Russia. We probably one of the more memorable trips, though, if you remember, was the sailing that we did when we were in the Western Greek islands.
I agree.
In Athens.
Yeah, I think there were 4 guys, and we did a guy trip, and we sailed the Greek islands, and then I stayed an extra couple of weeks and was able to go to the Olympics in Greece and did a mission trip there. But great memories of sailing together in Greece. Yeah. In fact, it's one of the things that's stimulated our family. We're going back there in July with Dustin and Alex and our daughter and granddaughter. So travel enriches people's lives. And so often I talk to people and try to encourage them to come to South Africa, and they're always wanting to put it off. But it's just, if you put it off, sometimes you get too old and you're not able to do it. So it really is an amazing thing to be able to get out and experience other cultures. Today, we're going to focus more on Africa. What kind of things do you remember about our time together in Africa? You've been there how many times now?
I've been down there 6 times now.
Oh, wow.
With the ministry. I think we go back to about 2010, 2009. You and Beth were living at Shikaru, on the Shikaru side.
We were living like gypsies.
Yeah, you didn't really have a place that was yours yet.
No, we would move about every 4 days, so we lived out of our suitcase.
And the ministry was just beginning at that time. I remember working with Jock, and he had a ministry, still has a ministry too, working with children.
Yeah, Jock Van Bommel, ministry Reaching a Generation, which is an amazing ministry. We've partnered with Jock now for over 20 years. They do a wonderful job also ministering to children. Were you happen to? I bet you were on the trip that we did with Des Moines First Assembly, where we had 40 people. Were you on that?
Yes, yes, that was a large team.
Yes, it was.
But what an amazement! I remember we went into Polokwane, and that on Friday night, and Dave B. Roth, the pastor, you remember, and it was all those kids. And there's close to 1,000 of them. It was the first time I'd ever seen 1,000 teenagers all packed into one auditorium.
Yeah, at Northern Academy.
And then Dave came out and just gave them a really encouraging message, and just the enthusiasm, the singing, and the praising of God. That these kids, it was just infectious. And then I remember at the end, then they wanted to be prayed for.
Mm-hmm.
And Beth looks over at Mary, my wife, who's somewhat of an introvert, and says, "Well, Mary, here, you take this line." And there's this line of girls that were coming down for prayer. And one of the things when you are traveling to South Africa with Dr. Busman, you are going to become a prayer warrior, whether it's voluntary or otherwise, because there's a lot of need and a lot of prayer for these kids. And they're so open.
Yeah.
Is what I find. I mean, and they will just come and share what is bothering them and what you can pray for them. But I remember those Friday nights. That was just an incredible time with these kids that came together like that.
Yeah, we don't go up there anymore, and I'm not even sure those meetings are still happening, but they were amazing. Like you say, 1,000 kids would come in. They would pack into a school hall where there wasn't even room for chairs. It would just be standing room only. And the music was loud and beautiful, and they were singing and trying to dance, but there was very little room to dance. But amazing times. And we've kind of copied that at our church with Johanni at Mountain View Christian Church. We have about 350 children, not 1,000, but it's really the same feeling.
Yeah.
Lots of energy. And just incredibly deep spiritual things are going on. You could just feel the Holy Spirit there. In fact, I tell many people that it feels like we're now in the early stages of a revival. At the end of church or their Friday evening groups that we have, the youth will just hang around. They would stay all night if we'd leave the music on and leave the lights on. And so we're really beginning to go deep spiritually with hundreds and actually thousands of children in Africa. So it's really a joy. You've helped us, some of your friends have helped us with funding for water projects, and that's another thing that we're very actively doing in Africa. I think Dustin just built our 84th well, but tell us a little bit about your involvement with our water projects.
Well, in the number of times I've been down there, it wasn't until this most recent one, which is just a year ago, a little over a year ago, I went out with Dustin and for the first well drilling. Mm-hmm. And we went into this impoverished village, and there wasn't even any roads. We were just out back in the bush, and there was this small village, very impoverished, and they began to drill water. And it took about 4 hours, but when they hit the water, it comes shooting up out of the ground with rock and water. But what will warm your heart is when you see the village is gathered around, and when they see the water come shooting out like that, there's a cheer and a dancing, and there's a real sense of gratefulness. Because some of these kids, they have to lug water jugs down as much as 2 and 3 miles just to get water to bring back for their mothers to boil and be safe in drinking water. But now with these wells, it's right outside. It's usually outside of a daycare center or a school or in the heart of the village. So they have this fresh water. And I can tell just how grateful and how much it changes their lives.
It does.
Fresh water in a village.
And truly, I believe that at Blessman International, we have the best water project of any mission organization in the world. We've now drilled 84 wells, and when we drill a well, we also put a water meter along with it and a SIM card, and that SIM card talks to our website, and then it will also communicate with the donors electronically with their website or their email. they can see how many gallons of water their own well is producing. And I think we're over 30 million gallons of water that we have contributed. We've also added gardens and irrigated gardens that we do with each well because and we put them in preschools. And so when we do this, the preschool gets water. They're already getting food from meals from the Heartland, and now they're getting a garden. And we also come in and we educate them. How do you do agriculture? How do you do the garden and keep it going? We provide them with seedlings and training to get them by the first year, and then our hope is that they'll be sustainable and keep things like that going.
But one thing I want to stress about the ministry, and the reason that I am so excited to serve in this ministry, overarching through all of this is the gospel message that's being brought to those children and to those people in South Africa. You've heard me say time and time again, all these wonderful things we're doing. Yes, we can feed them, we can teach them, we can bring them fresh water. But if we're not feeding their soul for Jesus Christ, then we are just nothing more than another social services agency, which is fine. But the difference here is that we're bringing a gospel message to them. One of my fondest memories down there is we would do these pastors' conferences. And it was exciting that it'd been an all-day conference, and these young pastors would come, and they would walk many times, many miles, or drive many miles just to come for a 6 to 8 hour conference where we would be speaking on church organization, church management, counseling, ministerial type activities. And these young pastors, and I call them that, these are guys in their 20s, and they're bivocational because they can't necessarily support just be supported off
the collection plate.
Yeah, because most of them work, and then they have a congregation of 75 to 100. But what I find time and time again was the deep spiritual commitment that they had to God and to really shepherd these small congregations.
I love it when pastors are bivocational. I think they're better pastors if they actually live in the world. They have a regular job. They know what it's like to deal with life issues, family issues, and I think it makes them a better pastor. And so most all of the pastors that we work with have a regular job plus what they do in the church. Johanni's a perfect example of that. Johanni is a full-time farmer. He does an incredible job with the farm, and he's also a full-time pastor, and he just is shepherding, again, 350 young people every Friday night, every Sunday morning. So,
and what is amazing, too, that you'll see is the unfettered access that we have to the kids in high school. Before classes start, they come together in an assembly, and there's a chance to preach the message to them. I remember our good friend Ron Strack preaching to these kids, and there'd be 700-800 kids all out there. And we are very free to discuss the Bible with them, very free to discuss their faith, very free to pray with them. Just unfettered access to these kids, and they want that.
Oh yeah,
and they're thirsty. I didn't get a sense that it's mandatory. You have to go and listen to Dr. Blessman and the pastors this week, but they want to come and they enjoy the fellowship, but they also have an opportunity to be prayed for.
Yeah. Pastor Jonathan, our pastor of the first church that we planted in South Africa, he's gone around to 3 or 4 schools and developed a relationship. And these are now over 1,000 kids at each school. And he's able to give them a message right out of the Bible once a week at their school assembly. And it really reminds me in the Bible where Jesus is in a boat and he's speaking to hundreds of people. Mm-hmm. And the same with these children. You can speak to 1,000 kids and you don't need a microphone or sound amplification. They stand there shoulder to shoulder, and you don't see them on their cell phones or distracted. They're paying attention. and just honoring whoever is preaching or giving the message. And really, most of these children probably don't even go to a church of their own. And so this is their chance to hear spiritual things. And Pastor Jonathan actually becomes their pastor for a few thousand children that he meets with every week. So it's amazing opportunities. I wish our government here in America was a little more open to the gospel and Jesus Christ. But at least we're able to do it in South Africa, and South Africa incredibly needs it. It's called the dark continent for a number of reasons, but it's spiritually dark, but there is some open doors for us to go in and make a difference there.
And two other aspects of the ministry that is very touching is that we do the shoes for the children, and they'll actually come and they're lined up and they're fitted for shoes, but then we wash their feet.
Yeah.
And washing their feet, and then we put on socks, and then we put on a new pair of shoes for these kids, and then we pray with them.
Yeah. And you know where we learned to do that, David?
No, where was that?
Jesus.
Jesus himself.
Jesus did
So
that.
you took that as an example to do that. And so praying for these kids like that. And then also the eyeglass ministry, because one thing that Jim always, before we even have the clinic, we're all in a circle, and Jim will always lead us in prayer. And we all pray that God, that you're going to bring people in here, and we ask that you give them not only physical sight, but you give them spiritual sight so that we can help them out with these eyeglasses. And then you're one-on-one fitting them for the eyeglasses, and then you get a chance. And then you always have them, and they're reading the Bible, because you ask them, well, can you see this? Does this look better? And they just start reading the Bible to you. And then before they go, you always say, is there something that I can pray with you for? And these are complete strangers. And overwhelmingly, they're going to say, yes, pray for this or pray for that.
Yeah.
In my life. So,
and again, if you go back to Jesus, I think the most common thing that he healed was sight, or lack of clear sight. So it's been an amazing ministry. We've given out well over 25,000 pair of glasses over many, many years. We've given glasses all over the world. We used to travel around with suitcases full of glasses. Now we buy them out of China. We have a little warehouse or garage full of brand new glasses from China that we give out. But it's an amazing ministry, and people are always blessed. And the real blessing is when you come on a mission team with us, you get to interact with this patient of yours, and we teach you how to be a professional and help prescribe the proper glasses. And you get to interact with them one-on-one. There's a certain feeling that comes when you're able to preach to 1,000 kids, but the real wonderful feeling for me, and I think most people, is the one-on-one encounters that you get to have with the African young people. We really do focus on youth and children. We do a few things with the elderly and adults, but our ministry is dedicated to making the children's lives better in many, many ways.
And then also, Mary and I, we support a young girl at Dale Kramer monthly with support. And it's a great opportunity for you to interact with a child that you sponsor. And this last time when I was there, I got to meet with her and speak with her. And there's just something about, actually having that time to talk to her and have your picture taken with her. And then you have this communication. And then she now knows who we are on the other side that supports her every month. So it's one child at a time, or a child.
Yeah, it's our child sponsorship program. We've had that going about 3 years. Quite frankly, I've been a little frustrated that it hasn't grown. We have probably a little under 100 children that are sponsored, and they have a partner in America, and they write letters back and forth. We're now exploring a new organization that will allow us to do this much, much better. And we'll bring you more information about that very, very soon. But instead of having to write letters back and forth, we'll put an app on your phone or let you download an app on your phone, and you could do video conferences or video messages to your child, and they'll send you a video message back. And so I think there's big improvements coming in our child sponsorship program. And hopefully we'll get thousands of children sponsored rather than 100. We're actually feeding 50,000 children throughout Southern Africa. And I don't have a dream of ever getting 50,000 children sponsored, but I think we'll get many more. And it again gives an opportunity for the Americans to have a relationship with a child halfway around the world and share their lives and help support them especially in the area of feeding children. Our feeding program is just one of the better things that we do and one of the larger things that we do. We have amazing partners with that, with Convoy of Hope and Meals from the Heartland that support helping us provide food for children in Africa.
And one of the other partners is the Hunters Against Hunger, and they go down and they shoot the wild game, and they donate the game to the orphanages and to the feeding sites. And so the meals are supplemented with good protein from the local animals. And I've been down there when they bring in the meat into the feeding centers, and it's an assembly line because they unload it out, and then all these kids standing in line, and they're all just passing all like a bucket brigade of these chunks of meat, fresh meat that they're going to be served over the next number of days.
Yeah, it's an amazing program that was started by a good friend of Dustin and mine, Neil Bernard. And he actually was killed in a car accident about 5 years ago, but he owned a beautiful hunting safari farm. And he got the idea that his hunters would like to donate the meat to feed malnourished children in Africa. And we've kept that program going over the last 4 or 5 years, and it's grown. We had a little bit of a hit during COVID when there weren't people traveling and hunting. The year before COVID, they actually donated 37,000 pounds of red meat to supplement our feeding program. And that's all coming back now after COVID. The majority of people that come on mission trips with us are not hunters, but usually out of every team or so, there's one or two individuals that wants to do big game hunting in Africa, and they enjoy it. And they enjoy it more when they realize that's helping feed children. And all they're really interested in is the trophy that they can bring back and hang into their, put in their trophy room. So wonderful things happening for us in Africa. Any last thoughts that you want to get in the interview today, David? Because there's lots of memories that you and I have had together. I mean, we've just touched the surface.
But I really want to stress that overarching in this ministry is God's faithfulness, because you, Jim, you have been faithful to his call. He gives you the vision. He gives you the resources. He gives you the people. But it's all due to your faithfulness that you've had and how you have grown, not only in this ministry, but how you've grown spiritually. And it's just been a privilege for me to be part of that with you for the past 30 years.
Well,
you're a good friend and a good godly example for people. And your ministry, God will continue to bless it because of your faithfulness to him.
We hear your heart, David, and that's why we selected you to be our chaplain. And you have blessed us tremendously. All the people on our staff are followers of Christ. And that's a difficult thing when you're running a ministry. You run it like a business. But we are blessed that the team that we have are all faithful followers of Christ. And any one of our staff could lead devotions, but it's amazing how you come in and you study ahead of time so that the devotion time that we have is very high quality and just deepens each of our faith. And our staff actually becomes like family because we pray for each other. We know all kinds of issues that we're suffering and dealing with, and we, bring them forward and get healing. And so we have no problem in staff retention. Our staff loves working with us, and I think it's because of the fact that we're all brothers and sisters in Christ. So thank you,
Yes.
David. I appreciate being with you, and we'll just keep bringing these podcasts to you and giving you more and more information about what we're experiencing, what's happening in the beautiful continent of Africa. So have a wonderful day. Thank you.